Assalamu alaikum everyone. My name is Shahrukh and my group partner is Farhan. We are going to present and run our automated test cases on our Oud project, which was on OLX website, which I'm sure most of you would know about. So since it was our Oud project, we implemented it using NetBeans, as you can see, and these are all the files, the Java files that were used for the project. Some of them are just classes, while most of them are classes, and some of them contain the major functions and use cases of the project. Like for example, this is the user class, so who's the main actor of the system, and majority of our functions are here. So I'm going to give you a brief introduction about our project so that you can have an understanding of what are we going to test. So first of all, these were the requirements. Ma'am said that we are supposed to perform white box testing on 3 functions that are from the user class. The first function is insert add to favorites. The second one is change add details, and the third one is make order. So I am going to run the test cases for insert add to favorites and make order, while my group partner Farhan is going to run the automated test cases for change add details. Okay, so I would just like to show you those functions. They come inside the user class, as here you can see user class. So this is the user class, and the first function is insert add to favorites. This is the one, and it's one of the major use cases of our project, as it talks about ad. We all know that OLX is about ads, right? Like you can post ads, you can view ads, and if you like the ad, you can actually buy items from that ad. So the user, when the user is using is searching for ads, and if he likes something, if he wants to buy something, he has a list of favorites, so he can insert that ad to favorites. So this is one of the functions. The other one is make order. That's over here. Yeah, this one. So as you can see, this is pretty much self-explanatory. Make order, like it's to make the order. I don't know how to explain this further. So I'm going to be running my test cases on this. So now I'm going to move on to explaining, giving a brief introduction about the testing tool that we're going to use, which is JUnit. Okay, so a little bit of history regarding the tools. It came in the mid-90s, and more importantly, it has become the standard tool for test-driven development in Java. So it is one of the most preferred tools that is used for testing for Java projects specifically. And the reason for that is because JUnit is now part of many Java IDEs, Eclipse, BlueJ, JBuilder, Dr. Java, and of course NetBeans. And also that it can be used for many other languages as well, like C++, Python. So JUnit is pretty popular and still used today by many companies. Okay, so unit testing. Okay, the main thing that we are doing in our project is unit testing, right? We're all performing unit testing, which is the testing of the individual functions in our project, right? So that's what we're doing. So JUnit is a good tool for unit testing. That's what this is, and that's why we're using it for our project. And its implementation can vary from being very manual, like you could do it using pencil and paper, and this is we're talking about unit testing. Like you could do unit testing using pencil and paper, which I think we already have done, which was a CFG, control flow graph. So we used to draw those graphs using paper and pencil, right? So yeah, we can perform unit testing with pencil and paper, and it can also be done using automation, which we have done in our projects. Okay, so these are one of the some of the famous Java unit testing tools. Like these are so many of them, and you can see that JUnit is one of them. So I'm just showing that JUnit is one of the famous Java unit testing tools. Okay, moving on. Again, as I mentioned earlier, it has become a standard tool for testing in Java because it's part of many Java IDEs. So many Java many IDEs can use. It can be integrated with many IDEs. So JUnit, that's why it's important. So okay, good thing about, yeah, this, I think these are the same points I've already mentioned, that it can be easily integrated with Eclipse, Ant, Maven, or even NetBeans. So moving on to benefits. Okay, some of the benefits of JUnit is that, I think the most important benefit is that it's simple. It's a powerful tool. It can accomplish so much, yet it's a simple framework. And I think you guys already have used JUnit before. We have simple yet powerful functions like assert equals, in which we just compare the expected output matches the actual output. So, and the lines of code that are used for JUnit are very less. That's one of the major benefits of JUnit. And of course, the reason why people prefer using JUnit is because it allows you to write code faster while increasing quality. Yeah, we can write code faster. Tests can be organized into test suites containing test cases. So yeah, we can make test suites and they can contain specific test cases for each function. So it's really easy to organize our code in JUnit testing. And finally, writing JUnit tests is inexpensive, which is something that is applied to us as well. We didn't have to search for other testing tools since our project was done in Java, so JUnit was the perfect tool for us. So okay, I think I've spent enough time for the introduction. Now I'm going to move on to the automated test cases. Okay, so now I'm going to run my automated test cases. So this is what we had to do, as I explained earlier. Underneath white box testing, we had to perform on three functions: insert, add to favorites, change, add details, make order. I will be explaining the test cases for insert, add to favorites, and make order, while Farhan will take care of change, add details after me. So insert, add to favorites. This is the function. So I'll quickly explain to you what this function does so that it's easier for you to understand when I show you the testing code. So first of all, the function asks the user to enter the ID of that item or that ad that the user wants to add to his favorite list or her favorite list. So it's going to ask for that ID. So once it gets that ID, it's going to check if that ID is valid. Like, it has to exist in the database, right? So that's what it checks. Okay, so if it does, if the ID is valid, so it's going to traverse the favorite list, the user's favorite list. It's going to traverse that, and it's going to check if the ID that ad is already in that list or not. Okay, so it's checking if there's already an ad with that ID. And if there is, it's going to return a string that says this advertisement is already in your favorites. So we cannot insert to favorites because it's already there, right? So this is what this is the first case. The second case is if after checking the list, if the ID is not already there, then it's simply gonna add that ad to the list of favorites. Okay, and then it's going to return the string advertisement added to your favorites. Okay, simple. Then okay, this was the if condition, like if the ID is valid, like if that ad exists, and if it does not exist, if it's not valid, then it's just going to it's just going to return no advertisement found against this ID. Okay, so there are three total scenarios in this function, and it was supposed to, actually the code was it was displaying this string, but we are returning the string because this is the output. This is how we're going to check our test cases, right? So this will be the actual output, and we're going to keep an expected output, and we're going to see that which string is the function returning when we give them the input test data. So this is the function. This is our user test class. Okay, so we have three scenarios for insert, add to favorites. As I mentioned earlier, this is coverage 1, this is test coverage 2, and this is test coverage 3. So this is for insert, add to favorites. Okay, so in the first one, what's happening is that we have created two input as input data. We have created two ads. Okay, so this is ad A, ad B. In ad A, we have kept the ID as 1, and at add B we have kept the ID as 3, and that's all the other details which are irrelevant: car, Corolla, whatever, Ferrari. Okay, so what we're doing is that in the first case, for this case, this one, we are so first of all, we're creating a user, then the user adds that ad to his list, not the favorite one, the user list. Like there are two lists basically. One is the basic user list for the ads, and then there's one for favorites. Okay, so what we're doing is he's first adding the list, the ad to the list, and he's adding the ad to his favorites list. Okay, and that is the reason we have included this line. You'll notice that this line does not come over here. Rest of the code is the same. This is to check that if the ad already exists in the favorites, so the system should print this advertisement is already in your favorites. Okay, so that's why we added this. So after adding that ad into the list, we are passing 1 as the ID to insert ad to favorites. So here's the function. So the ID is going to come and it's going to check if that ID exists. So it does exist. So after this is the expected outcome. So assert equals, this is the main function we're using, and we have used this string, like the exact copy of the string that we're expecting this function to return. We have kept that as our expected output, and we're going to check if it's equal to the it's as the actual output. So I'm going to run this, and if I'm going to run this, then it's going to show the results for all the test cases. So these test edits AD3, AD4, this is what Farhan is going to handle. So I'm just going to run this and show you what happens. Okay. Alright, so test results. So as you can see, tests passed is 50%. Okay, so I'll just make this bigger so you can see it better. We can see here that over here, so I'm taking care of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, these top 5. Insert add to favorites and make order, and the rest of them Farhan is going to explain to you when he presents his part. So passed. The reason we're talking about this right now, the reason why this passed is because we did add the ad to the favorite list, and that's what the system is showing, that this advertisement is already in your favorites. So let's just say if I remove this line, if I do not add the ad into the favorites, so let's see what if this test passes or fails. It's supposed to fail because it's no longer in the favorites list, so it cannot show this. Let's just run and check. So after running it, we can see that test results, see, it has decreased. Before it was 50%, now it's 41%. So yeah, see this? So test coverage 1 has failed because this is not what it outputs, because it's not in the favorites. The ad is not in the favorites list. So that's it. Alright, so I'm just gonna remove this. I think I've taken so much time. Okay, so the test coverage 2 is testing the second part, this part, advertisement added to your favorites. Okay, so what we're doing here is that we're adding the add B ad into the list, and we are not adding it to the favorite list, right? So what we're expecting is that the system will give advertisement added to your favorites. Okay, and as I've shown it here, let me just run this again. Shift F6. This will become 50%. Yes, it did. So yeah, so even this is passed because it makes sense, right? This was the ad, this was the ad. Okay, that was the ID 3. So after adding it to the users list, but we have not added in the favorites list, right? So it's not supposed to display this or this. Okay, because we have it in our database, and we have not added it into our favorite list. So the test is passed. Assert equals, so this is what we get. So it's the same for the third scenario. So here what we have done is we have added the ad number A, but here we're passing a 5. Okay, so this is the input, right? Before we passed a 3, that ad did exist, right? Because we have created an ad for 1 and for 3. So in the first case we passed a 1, it was fine. We passed a 3, it was fine. For the third case we are passing 5, and we're expecting that the system will show no advertisement found against this ID, because an ID an ad with the ID 5 does not exist in the database. So that's why even this scenario passed. Okay, so I'm going to go to make order now. Make order, wait a second. Yes, so make order is all the way down here. Let me just hide this, put this down. Make order. Okay, yeah, here it is. Make order. So again, I'll give you a quick explanation of this function, what it's doing. So it's doing a pretty simple task. What it's doing is, first of all, as the name of the function says, when the user makes an order, this is the function that's going to work. So first thing it's going to do is it's going to check if the cart, okay, the cart is, if you have done online shopping, you would know that when we do online shopping, we always add items to the cart, right? So if the cart is empty, you cannot make an order, because you have to add something into the cart to make an order and buy that item, right? So this is what it's doing. If the cart is empty, then return cart is empty. Okay. Otherwise, it's going to traverse the cart and is going to add up all the sum of all the items, and then it's just going to compute the total discount and everything, and then the user is finally going to pay everything, and then order placed successfully. Okay, so the test cases for these were, okay, these were the three three scenarios for insert add to favorites. I've already covered these. These are, I think, 7 scenarios for edit change add details wala function, this one, and this is what Farhan is going to take care of. So make order is here. So there are 2 scenarios for make order. So in the first scenario, we are going to check the scenario when the cart is empty, right? So here's what's happening. Over here we have created a cart. See, there's a cart object, and we have added items to that cart. See, add to cart. Okay, but over here we have not added anything to the cart, so the cart is empty. As you can see there, we will just print it out, and there's nothing being added to the cart. So assert equals cart is empty. We're expecting that the output will be cart is empty, and that is what the output is. That's why this function passes. Okay, so if I let's say if I take this code, this extra code, this one, and if I add it over here, and if I take, I think, what extra, yeah, these 3 lines, and if I add it below this, okay, so if I do this, then it should not pass, right? So let's just run this. What's this issue? Oh yeah, okay, so I've just added items to the cart, and I'm still running. I'm expecting that this will fail. So let's run this again. Okay, running it again, this is 50%, and it will decrease to 41%. Yes, 41.67%, because test make order 1 has failed. We were expecting that it would give us cart is empty, but it has not, because we have added items to the cart, so the cart is no longer empty. So here it has failed. So again, if I just remove this, if I just remove these extra lines that I added, and I bring it back to the way it was before, and I run it again, this will probably pass. Yeah, so this passes, because now the cart is empty, and that's what's happening. So here I think you must have gotten the idea of this as well. So here we are adding items to the cart, and then we are expecting that the system will give us a string order placed successfully, and that's what it's giving, because we have created a cart object, and then we have added items to that cart. So the user was able to make and place the order because there were items in that cart. So that's why this test passes. Okay, and similarly, if I remove these lines, and if I copy all that code from here to here and make the cards empty, so this test will fail. So I'm done with my part. I think I've gone a little bit overboard with my time. So Farhan is going to take over from here, and he is going to explain these 7 scenarios for this one, change add details. So I'm done with ma'am, I'm done with insert add to favorites and make order. So Farhan is going to now explain change add details. Okay, thank you and bye bye.
Assalamualaikum everyone. My name is Farhan Atif and I will be talking about my automated test cases. So the function I was testing was related to our project was a replica of OLX, and so my portion of the automated test cases was the edit add option. So basically these are two functions. The first one is for checking if an ad exists against this ID, and the second portion of the second function is basically the actual changing the ad details. It had a switch case, and for testing purposes another parameter was added to check if the relevant statement was returned. So first checking out the test cases, I added two ads basically with the respective ID 1 and 3, and I also created an object OLX website to basically bring the program to a running form. So first we added the ad basically to the whole as a list of ads as a whole to the OLX site that this ad has been added, and then we created a user. The ad was added to the user, and the user was again added to the OLX instance website. And we are giving parameters 1 1 for test edit add 1. So basically what this means is that in edit add it will check if an ad with id 1 exists, and then the other next one is for the parameter is for this function for the case 1, in which it will return basically if the test case has arrived here. So if we run this function, so as you can see it says 6 tests passed and 6 tests failed. So the 5 functions in this uh, test file has already been explained previously by my group partner Shahrukh Khan, and so if we go here it will tell us which of these have passed, and so we see that test edit add 1 has passed, which means that an ad of id 1 exists, and that the ad title will be changed successfully. And if we go towards the tests that failed, it basically the remaining 6 tests failed because we had given IDs 4 which obviously did not exist, as I previously showed that an ad of ID 1 and 3 were added. So these are all 4, and so the last one is for an invalid input, which means that any other input other than 1 to 6 will be considered an invalid input. Uh, this was my portion of the automated test cases. Thank you very much.